Hello. I'm great. I just jumped out of the pool. Great day. Was I right again, Tom? Say it isn't so. Muted. Tom's volume is muted. He's talking to himself again. Can you guys hear me okay? Tom, I'm convinced that I'm so dumb, I'm just that smart. Yes. Yeah. Somebody heard my joke. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking yes. Oh, no, I'm talking about put in the chat if you can hear Tom okay. Yeah, loud and clear. Tom, unmute yourself already, buddy. Tell me if you guys can hear Tom now. Tom sold Bitfarms. I doubt it. He's going to go down with that ship, I'm sure. All right. He's getting tech to get his volume back on. So, who's in shock about the war, by the way? I was in shock to watch the price of Bitcoin drop. And then it stopped. I thought it was going to break 100. But no luck.
Testing. We're back. All right, everybody. Tech support has done
Hang on.
work.
See if you can hear Tom. Tom. Can you hear him?
You know, these freaking machines. Not me, it's the machine. Well, I apologize, everybody. Welcome to Talking Investing. So everything I said, nobody heard. Welcome to everybody. It was a little bit of a rough day for the Bitcoin miners, but I think we're doing okay. And when we look at month to date, year to date, that kind of stuff, I feel like we're trending in the right direction. But today was very red. Having said that, I want to talk about 3 or 4 things today that are game changers. Some of which we've been talking about on this channel for a long time, and I have some articles today, and one of which, George, and I haven't even told George about this one yet today, so you'll find out in real time, but it's something you've been pounding the table on, and you just complained about it, I think, on the members only stream for a long time, and so we're going to have some big news, in my opinion, some game changer stuff going on here, and that's why I said I called this game over, because to me, it's game over. Anybody that thinks Bitcoin's going away, anybody that thinks cryptocurrency's going away, anybody that thinks anything other than this market cap is just going to get larger and larger and larger is fooling themselves, in my opinion. I think it's the debate is over. And I'll show you the articles that I'm talking about that give me, obviously that's my opinion. You guys can let me know in the comments, and maybe we'll do a poll. But I think it's over. We've reached critical mass, and it's off to the races at this point. So I'm feeling really good about stuff. I don't feel really great about what the Bitcoin miners did today, but it wasn't a disaster, and today's just one day. So I want to talk more big picture. But first, if you could please be so kind as to hit the thumbs ups, aka smash the like button. It helps the stream out in real time. We need to get everybody here. We need to get everybody to hear what's going on, because I think people are missing the big picture. I think people have already missed some of the run on the Bitcoin miners, and I think people are going to miss the run on Bitcoin and the altcoins. And I have a few specific coins that I think are just, at this point, it's just hard to deny that they're going to be the winners, in my opinion. That doesn't mean there's not a lot of other ones that'll do well.
I'll tell you what, Tom, there are just some opportunities out there. I think that you and I haven't been freaking phenomenal. I have a list of 100 different coins, by the way.
Wow.
All that have use case. They're not just, pump and dumps. They all have use case, and they're all gonna go up. But here's what people don't understand about this altcoin season. And trust me when I say this, they're going to go up, but they're going to plummet fast. So you guys got to have an exit strategy quick, because you're going to have to make that money and get out. Because with BlackRock being into these altcoins, they're going to pump them to numbers that you didn't think they were going to happen. And they're going to just plummet like they are right. I mean, they could get as low as to what they are right now again, which is crazy, because I didn't think that was ever going to happen. But the rumor on the street is BlackRock is going to pump the shit out of these things and just pull the rug.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time, and that is the key. It's the key even with Bitcoin, but certainly more so with the Bitcoin miners and altcoins. They tend to run even faster and more viciously than Bitcoin does. And if you miss it, don't
chase is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Pack your bags now and enjoy the trip. Don't try to, pick up clothes along the trip. That's what I'm saying.
And I did some of that today.
Yeah, do yourself a favor and research these altcoins, because I believe this money is going to be life-changing money for people. I'm not talking, I'm just talking astronomical things are going to happen. And I'm not just talking of one coin. I'm talking of many, many, many coins. And it's just going to be a fun ride if you do it right and you do it now. But this is not financial advice. You got to do what you do with your money. I ain't giving anybody advice of what to buy. You got to decide what to buy. Tom and I will bring you the stuff, and tell you what he's doing and what I'm doing. But hey, ultimately, you're the one pulling the trigger, not us.
We'd like to explore, and on the members only chat, we talked about this, and we have a homework assignment next week to bring some suggestions to the table. We're going to explore altcoins a lot more, but I do have a list of, some of the bigger, safer ones that I think are going to have very nice runs. But the ones George are talking about, it's hard. You're not going to 20x if you're already $100 billion coin.
No.
But if you're a $20 million, yes, that's even at $20 million, you could easily 20x and still be, fine. And you're going to get those. You'll get 20x's. There'll be a 50x's out there. The hard part is which one, and you can't buy everything. Unfortunately, we all have limited resources, so we got to try and do as best we can to do our due diligence. And like George said, be strategic, pack your bags now, and then take profits and get out. That's my biggest regret, definitely, along this ride.
It's not taking those profits, yeah.
Not taking profits at the end of the last bull market, and they really fooled me in a big way, because if everybody remembers, Plan B was the center of the universe. He was from the future. He knew what was going to happen, and he had Bitcoin going to $146,000 in December of 2021. Well, that didn't happen. We peaked in early November, and it was downhill, straight downhill for the next year and a half from there. So, if you missed that off ramp, I took some amount of profits, but I held a lot of stocks through the entire crypto winter and dollar cost averaged in. And I'm going to try to do better this time. And there is
24, Tom, 24 to 25 is what got me. It wasn't even back then. That didn't even hurt.
Right.
It was
You're right. It happened again. All
Right.
these stocks peaked in 2024, and then they all crashed again. And now they're recovering from that. And I think they will recover and go past their 2024. But for those of you who have been swing trading, and it's not quick swing trading, it's a little bit long-term swing trading. There's the opportunity to make the same money 3, 4, 5 times on these things. So I'm more of a buy and hold, and I get that, but we got to pay attention when it looks reasonable. And if you look at the technicals, the peak last time, it was screaming a peak. There was just so much noise that I personally, I will admit, I allowed myself to get fooled by the noise, by all of the YouTube influencers, by the Plan B, by the, everybody was calling for, astronomical numbers, and they just never happened. And the next thing we knew, we were in a crypto winter. I don't think we're going into a crypto winter, but I do think for Bitcoin, that is, but I do think that altcoins could go into a crypto winter, and the Bitcoin miners could pull back substantially. I don't know they're going to do what they did last time. I think there's 5 or 6 Bitcoin mining companies that have so significantly increased their infrastructure and their stability of their company that they're not going. Last time around, every single Bitcoin miner, the best Bitcoin miner, was down 91% at the bottom of the crypto winter. The worst one was down over 99%. So I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think we'll have a bear market, and swing trading these and taking profits when you get them.
Tom. Your mic is going up and down.
Like you can hear me and then you can't hear me?
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. I think it's the internet.
I don't know. We are having a storm here.
Yeah, it just went away.
You can't hear me right now?
No, I can hear you now, but it just went away a second ago.
Okay.
Is it thunder?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it is. You don't need to. Don't mess with it. It's thunder.
Yeah, we're having our afternoon. It's rainy season again.
Well, go on, man. I want to know what I was right about, or what I talked about.
You want to go right to that one first? Let's do it.
No, you can do whatever you want.
Let's.
But I'm waiting. I'm hoping you're going to talk about kind of hoping and kind of not hoping, because I don't want somebody else to do what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go to the first one, and I have several that I just think are absolute game changers. But this one, to me, and there's 2 articles. I'll start with the kind of the top-sided one. Weekly recap: milestones galore for stablecoin. Walmart and Amazon are both considering issuing stablecoins, potentially revolutionizing payments. And I want to read another sentence before we start talking about this. According to the Wall Street Journal, the world's biggest retailers, by the way, those are the 2 biggest retailers in the world,
I'm sure,
are tired of paying, guess what, George? Merchant fees.
Yeah.
You and I had a private conversation at great length about this just a day or 2 ago.
Right here.
And other unaccountable costs to the likes of Visa and MasterCard. We've been calling out, George brought it up 2 or 3 years ago, and we have been talking about the fact that I don't think Visa and MasterCard have a sustainable business model. And those are 2 of the 15 biggest companies in the world right now. Those are $500 billion companies. And
say goodbye to them.
I think the handwriting's on the wall, and I'll just quickly jump away for a second and show you. Visa was down 5% today on this news.
All I know is I'm going to show you guys. It's so funny. I knew this is where you were going.
MasterCard was down.
This is what I'm working on right now, guys, is from a crypto currency point of view. Go on.
Yeah, so MasterCard was down almost 5%. Like, those are big dips, but look, MasterCard, which is the smaller of the 2, is still a $500 billion company. So if you think you've missed the ride down on this one, I just don't see how these companies are relevant 10 years from now. And it might be a lot faster than that. When you've got, and I'm going to keep going because there's more. Walmart, Amazon, Mall, dollar pegged stablecoin in the US, the Wall Street Journal. So when you've got the two largest retailers, the amount of business these two conduct is monumental. Stablecoins could eliminate costly card processing fees and reduce transaction times, especially for cross-border payments. XRP, a stablecoin system for Amazon and Walmart, could shift consumer transactions away from banks, intensifying pressure on card networks like Visa and MasterCard. So this is the big one, but right behind it, here's another one. Shopify to enable USDC payments on Coinbase. Right, that this isn't quite, they're not quite as big as the other ones, but this is $150 billion. They're one of the largest retailers in the world. The integration is set to roll out June 12th. That was yesterday, to a limited group for early access merchants, with wider availability expected later in the year. You're seeing, this isn't just one thing. You've got Amazon, Walmart, Shopify. If they're moving towards a model where they see themselves converting people and having MasterCard and Visa, because the fees are astronomical, and forget American Express, right? So I think this is monumental game change. And the other part of this is getting the hundreds of millions of consumers an on-ramp into the crypto universe.
You got three letters. XRP.
XRP. That's right. And that is one of the three things that I'm going to say at this point. I'm calling it. There's three things that are already winners. There may be more past that. There probably will be, but we'll get to the three. You can probably guess at least one of them. Bitcoin, I'll tell you. That, to me, we're well past the point of no return for Bitcoin. And I'm going to show you a bunch of articles that support why I'm thinking that. Hopefully my mic is doing better.
It actually got worse there for a second.
Did it really?
But I want to show a real example right here in my hands, right here. See this? I try not to use credit cards, okay, at all. Try not to take them for my company, because like what we do is we bill out customers and then they can send us a check. But just little tiny transaction. Listen to this. Somebody charged $5,880. It cost me $353. That's 6% when you add the bullshit fees that they have in there. You know, my swipe rate was, 3.1 or something like that, or non-swipe rate. So 6%. So this is why I love crypto. Crypto gives you and I an opportunity to make that additional 6%. And that's what I love.
That fee would have been reduced somewhere between 90 and 99%.
So, yeah, so basically I won't say the way I want to say this because I know we're get strike down. But basically, we can take our money back. And it's our money. We worked for it, and it's our money.
Right. And these large financial institutions, the biggest part of the bottom line profit they make is the fees that they charge their customers. That's the majority of the profit that they make. You would think, oh, it's the interest on all their loans and all that. That's the smaller part of their, it's fees. At one point, it was ATM fees was the single biggest profit center for the largest banks in the country. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It drives me out of my mind when I look at it, especially like when a bank charges you money, but that's, besides the point. And this is why, guys, I went in heavy with XRP when I did, because I have enough XRP to be my own bank, and I will be.
Yeah, you were early and often. So I'm only just now, and I bought some yesterday and today. So I'm trying to build that position
So
out of
basically,
XRP.
what, 8x from already, and now you're getting in. So that kind of is a good example of what's going on with everything else too, Tom.
Right, but I'm looking at it. You've already, I mean, George bought some of that stuff at 30 cents, right? And
No,
he's
I've
been
averaged
pounding the
in
table for
33
years.
cents. 33 cents is my average.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, you know, I'm gonna dollar cost average in. If I get lucky enough to have another dip, then so be it. But I think we're with XRP, we haven't even started the run. I mean, obviously it's been a fantastic run from the bottom, but you know, I think there's a long, in my opinion, there's a long way to go for XRP as well. And I'm going to show some adoption there as to why I think that one is another one that's one of the winners.
We're not saying it's going to 100 or 1,000 or $10,000 like some of these wackadoodles online. I'm not saying that. I mean, anything's possible, but things would have to dramatically change in the ecosystem for that to happen.
I mean, remember, a 5x in 1 year is like a grand slam home run. We can't get too greedy. And I think those are really realistic numbers for something like an XRP. Now, I don't think Bitcoin's going to 5x from here, but it's already, you know, 6 or 7x from the bottom of the crypto winter. So, you know, you got to count it from the bottom.
If I was to say, if you're profitable right now, you're a stud. And you're in this space, you're a stud. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're ahead of the curve because retail investors are still gone. The majority of this buying is institutional buying and long-term holders. Short-term holders have been getting out. And you know, we get a situation like yesterday where something dramatic happened, you know, world geopolitically, and everything tanks. Well, to me, that's why I bought some stuff today. It's like, I'm not saying that stuff's not important, but it tends to have an over knee-jerk reaction and give you a buying opportunity. So I take them where I can get them, and you know, obviously hope that things de-escalate around the world.
I'm muting out for a second.
Right. All right. So let's go back to, and then I'll get to what all the Bitcoin miners did this week. But let's get back to the 15-minute chart. So you can see, I don't know if you guys can see this. There's a really thin line above this purple line. That's where Bitcoin was last Friday when we had our live stream last Friday. So we're actually up right now to the minute, 1.2% on the, you know, from last week to this week. But this is where Bitcoin was yesterday when the market closed. So if we go from this bigger gold line, we got to go to the closing candle on the equity side of the day. We're down about 1.5% on the week. And if you look, IBIT was down 1.5% today, which means coming into today, we were flat on the week. We went down 1.5%. And the Bitcoin miners did, for the first time this week, they were doing a great job all week, hanging in there, hanging pace with Bitcoin. And I'm going to show you last week, they outpaced Bitcoin by a mile. So my goal this week was just for them to keep pace with Bitcoin and hold on to those big gains, get a little consolidation, and then maybe run again next week. But Friday here today, we did pull back a little. A lot of 4 and 5% moves to the downside. Microstrategy was actually green. It's the only thing green. It was up 0.8%. Having said that, I'm going to say that over the last 2 months, the Bitcoin miners have outperformed Microstrategy, which is a new trend. Microstrategy over the last year and a half has dramatically outperformed the Bitcoin miners. So that trend over the last month and a half has reversed, and it's significant. Some of these Bitcoin miners are up 40, 50, 60, 70%, while MicroStrategy is up 7 or 8%. So, you know, that's a small period of time. All right. Jeff, thank you for the super chat and welcome to the stream. George convinced me on XRP way back in at 57 cent average. See, I mean, that's phenomenal. And then you don't have to panic. Even when it pulls back, right, it pulled back from like $3.29 down to like $1.90. So, you know, if you're Jeff, you're not panicking at that point. If you're George, you're not panicking at that point. So I think those are all buying opportunities. And again, I don't think we've really even begun because there's a lot of buying pressure coming. And that's some of the articles I want to show you. We're just starting with the buying pressure. So I see a lot more ahead. So congratulations, Jeff. I hope you really backed up the truck on that one because that's been a winner. And I think we're only just getting started. At 38 likes. If you guys could hit the thumbs up button or the like button, it does help the stream in real time. So let's get people here and get them on board. So let's, while George is gone, let's take a look at what happened to the Bitcoin miners. So not so good. And again, if you look, a lot of 5 and 6% on the week. Remember, most of these were down. Most of that was today. As of yesterday, everything was really on par with Bitcoin. It was today, you know, BitDeer down 9%, TerraWolf down 8%, Bitfarms down 7%. That continues to struggle. But a lot of these really lost their link this week with Bitcoin today. And they were holding on nicely. This is, I happen to be back in February. So February, here's what happened. And this is what we were talking about with the swing trading. February was a disaster. It was bad for Bitcoin. It was bad. It was worse for the Bitcoin miners. But I think March was even worse because in March, here you had Bitcoin down just 2%. So pretty flat. And the Bitcoin miners got wrecked. I mean, you've got some of these down here over Hive 30%, Bitfarms 32, TerraWolf 35. Core Scientific 35, Cypher 44%. That is on top of what they did in February. I mean, those 2 months were a train wreck. And then things started to turn around. April looks a little better. A lot of green going on here. May, much better. We have most of the Bitcoin miners outperforming Bitcoin and some big moves like Iron up 37% in the month of May. BitDeer 34%. So we had some big movers there. June. Now we just had a bad week. But even with that bad, I don't know what, I'm not sure what's going on with my microphone. It sounds like you guys are having trouble hearing me. Let me know if that persists. The mic is weird. I might have to get tech support back in here to see what's going on. Because I don't know why that would be. I double checked all the settings. Correct. So I'll get him back here in a minute. Can you guys hear me right now, or is it still no good? Okay, so I'm going to take a 30-second break. I'm going to get tech support and see if they can work on whatever's going on with my microphone. So I apologize. I will be right back. Pardon the pause. All right, pardon the interruption.
I'm back, Tom.
Oh, you're back, and I just got back. I just had tech support work on my mic.
All right, welcome to Talking
So
Investing.
let me know if you guys can you finally hear me now? Please let me know in the comments section.
All right, welcome to Talking Investing.
Jeff sent 5 Talking Investing membership gifts. So welcome to J Duff, Bitcoin to 150, Tej Terry.
All right, welcome to Talking Investing.
If I mispronounced any of your names, my apologies, but thank you, Jeff. That's very generous of you. So you guys can join us on Tuesday for the members only live stream.
All right, welcome to Talking Investing.
We have a little bit of a deeper conversation. It's a little bit more open because we're not a slave to the algorithm in that scenario.
All right, welcome to Talking Investing.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the new members. Welcome back. Please let me know. Hopefully, you guys can hear me now. Somebody said sounding good. So, I don't know. I don't know what was wrong. That was the old, I could have done that. It was pretty much the old turn it off and turn it back on again, unplug it, plug it back in. Back
It's
up
still
again.
doing it, Tom.
It's still doing it now? What? I might have to buy a new mic. This has never happened before. It's unprecedented.
Rings that go on your finger to tell you if you're alive or not.
One person said
Sounds
good, but it sounds like I'm still cutting out. I'll try and talk.
Nice. Now you
slowly.
sound good.
Okay. I'll try and talk very slowly and clearly into the microphone and see if that helps. Stay close.
So, Tom, what do you think is going to happen to Microstrategy when they give us their second quarter earnings?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They've been lagging behind for the last month and a half, but they're about to have, a significant Bitcoin, unless something happens between now and the end of June, Bitcoin is way up. And they now hold over 582,000 Bitcoin. So I feel like, they're going to be showing some monumental profits in their next quarterly report, more so, but to a lesser extent, the Bitcoin miners are going to have a really good quarter at the end of next quarter as well. And I got an article I want to show you about the Bitcoin miners, but to your point, George, I mean, they're going to make more money in one quarter than probably they've made in their entire existence. Is it priced in? The other thing that's happening is there's an awful lot of companies starting a Bitcoin treasury following the MicroStrategy business model. So they're starting to have some competition. Now, they're by far the biggest, but I'm going to go through a list. There's some gigantic moves into Bitcoin. And it's another reason, this is another reason why I'm saying this is game over. Bitcoin is here. Bitcoin is on. And let me find that right now because I think that's an important one. Okay, so and I've got a bunch of articles to go through, but this is literally just the last 2 weeks. So the top of this chart, you'll see Bitcoin Treasury. These are non-Bitcoin miners. I do a separate analysis. Obviously, there's several Bitcoin miners that have big HODL stacks, including Marathon, which has the second largest HODL stack of any company, publicly traded company in existence, with almost 50,000, but Riot has almost 20,000. CleanSpark has over 12,000. So when those companies report, at June 30th, their financial statements are going to be spectacular. And I'm going to put that in perspective when I show you an article from JP Morgan that talked about the last quarter. But look at this list. So forget strategy. We know they buy, and they're going to buy another $20 billion worth. Metaplanet is now at 8,888 Bitcoin, and they are raising $5.3 billion to buy more Bitcoin. K-Wave is just starting their treasury by raising $500 million. Here's the thing. Every one of these on this list that I'm going to talk about are companies that are raising money to buy Bitcoin. This does not even get into the Fortune 500 companies that have anywhere from $10 billion to $100 billion of cash on their balance sheet and haven't invested any of it in Bitcoin. This is new money from smaller companies. Some of these companies are only a small fraction of the amount of money they're looking to raise to create a Bitcoin treasury. Just like Microstrategy, their Bitcoin holdings far exceed the value of what their company had in total over its history. So Semler Scientific, and I'm going to show you an article. There's something unique about Semler Scientific. It could be a buying opportunity. We'll see what happens, but they already own 4,449 Bitcoin. They're raising another $100 million. The blockchain group, $342 million. Ritar Log Tech, $1.5 billion. KULR Technology, $300 million. Trump Media, $2.3 billion. GameStop, which already just bought 4,710 Bitcoin, they're raising another $1.75 billion. By the way, their stock got wrecked on this. So if you think that that the GameStop's a buy, if it was a buy yesterday, it's certainly more so today. Mercurity FinTech, I just came across this article, I think was yesterday or today. $800 million. That's almost $33 billion of money. They haven't bought these Bitcoin yet. This is all buying pressure on Bitcoin, and all of these Bitcoin are going into treasury. So you're not gonna, they're coming out of circulation effectively. So those are going to turn into long-term holders of Bitcoin. You've got the ETFs that continue massive inflows. That's long-term holders of Bitcoin. So what I'm saying is the supply of available Bitcoin is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And at some point, we haven't had a supply shock type of a move yet. But the more of these, this is 2 weeks worth of articles. The more of this that comes out, right? There could be another $100 billion behind that. That's going to add $1 trillion to the market cap of Bitcoin, right? Because we don't get a 1-to-1 ratio. Let's do a poll, George. People are asking for a poll, and we have not done a poll.
What do you want to do, Tim?
You do one?
I can do it. Just tell me what you want to say.
So, I want to try and tie it into what we're talking about here, but so let's just do a simple one. Have we reached a point where cryptocurrency is now legitimate and it's only going to grow from here? So are we at the beginning of a large growth curve for cryptocurrency in its entirety? Or do people think this is a peak and we're going to have another crypto winter and go back down, to $1 trillion?
I only got a few words that I can write.
How about Bitcoin? what's more likely? Cryptocurrency market cap of 10 trillion or back down to 2 trillion. So before we reach 10 trillion, are we going to have a bear market or a crypto winter and go back down to 2 trillion? And to put it in perspective so you can see what we're talking about, I'll press refresh just to make sure this is absolutely up to date. $3.4 trillion. So this is hovering somewhere around the all-time high market cap. It's the all-time high is a little bit higher than this, but about $3.5 trillion is where we're at right now, and that's very near the all-time high. Both George and I think it's going much higher from here, but are we wrong? Are we going to continue with these cycles and have another crypto winter? This is effectively what I'm asking. And you can see, if you look at the market cap over in this column, and I've got this broken out somewhere, but you can see, right, Bitcoin's $2 trillion of that. It's obviously the dominant coin with a measure Bitcoin dominance. It's near, a 3 or 4 year high. And then it drops down to $300 billion, which is still a gigantic number. Then we've got a stable coin. And by the way, Tether has grown monumentally. It's at $155 billion. XRP is now in 4th place. So that has moved up the list. It's at $125 billion. BNB has been a consistent. That's Binance coin. And that has been consistently among the larger coins. And I'm almost done here. You've got Solana at 77 billion. USDC, which we're going to talk about because Circle just went public. And this is another piece of evidence, in my opinion, as to why cryptocurrency is here to stay. And we're about to see a massive shift into cryptocurrency. So that's at $61 billion. So there's 7, including 2 stable coins. So 5 coins and 2 stable coins above $60 billion. And then it drops off a cliff. Number 8 is all the way down, less than half of that, at $26 billion. So there's a little group there. And then you'll see, by the time we're at number 15, we're at 10 billion. And, these 3, 4, 5 billion, 2, 3, 4, 5 billion, there's a bunch of these. We're almost to 50 and we're still over 2 billion. But there's a big difference between 2 billion and 60 billion, right? It does drop off a cliff. And there's some big, very popular names that haven't gotten themselves up into the stratosphere yet, right? Cardano is a very popular name. Sui has had a nice run this time around. Chainlink, Avalanche, Stellar. Some of these are meme coins, Shiba Inu, Dogecoin, but, Dogecoin as a meme coin is the number 8th largest coin in the world. Got one you want to point out, George?
It's still like, your Caspa. I can't believe Marta would get involved in something that they didn't thoroughly research. They're billions and billions of dollar company, and they're not going to take energy away from what could be mining Bitcoin to do this project if there isn't some type of adoption for it.
So there you are now. I agree, but like a lot of these, they just have not had their run yet. And this was a tough week. You're going to see Caspa. We're talking about Caspa, ticker KAS. Marathon, this is a proof of work coin. Marathon is the largest miner in this ecosystem. They did a press release singularly on this 6 months or a year ago, and it really hasn't taken off. I've seen video after video of Caspa fanatics that are talking about this thing going to $2 or $3. That seems far-fetched to me from 7 cents, but it does seem like there's a lot of upside for this. There's a nice infrastructure supported obviously by Marathon, the largest Bitcoin mining company by far. as well as an entire network, and it's got some use case. So, this is one of those that is this going to be a 20x? Is this going to miss the run altogether? And again, you're going to see a lot. It's down 9%, but you're going to see if we go. Yesterday was a really bad day, and it pushed a lot of coins. Sui's down 4% on the week. Cardano's down almost 4% on the week. Not as bad as I thought. Some of these are recovering today. Earlier today, this was uglier. So,
what would you say are the three largest exchanges for crypto in the United States?
In the United States, well, I know Coinbase is the largest. I don't know. We could look that up. I would guess maybe crypto.
Crypto.com, right?
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised, and this isn't really an exchange, but I wouldn't be surprised if Robinhood was doing that level of business. They have and it's different when you buy your stuff on Robinhood. You're not custodying it. It's not in your own wallet. But I think there's a massive amount of crypto activity going on there as well. I want to get to Circle. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I've done everything I can.
Yeah, it is still going up and down, just so you know.
Crazy. I'm gonna have to buy a new mic for next stream. Yes. Okay, so Mario is saying invest in Semler. So let's go to that article right now because something interesting is happening with Semler. Okay, so this article came out a couple of days ago. Tom Lee Mulls roughed up Semler Scientific for granny shot portfolio. He has a particular portfolio that he calls his granny shot. It's a non-traditional type of a portfolio. But let me look at one thing before we do this. Semler Scientific bolsters Bitcoin holdings with a $50 million acquisition. The company acquired 455 Bitcoin. This was May 23rd. So this is a company, it's a small company. Their main business, Semler Scientific, obviously they have nothing to do with cryptocurrency, but they are taking the strategy, aka Microstrategy approach of creating a Bitcoin, borrowing money and creating a Bitcoin treasury. However, unlike all the other companies that are doing this, let me get back to the other article. Semler Scientific has tumbled nearly 50% this year despite Bitcoin's rally to record highs. And this is the key point. Semler now trades at 0.859 its Bitcoin net asset value. This is the only one of all of the companies that are creating a Bitcoin treasury that's under 1. In other words, a 1-to-1 ratio with the value of their Bitcoin and the value of their company. So for them right now, they really can't go out and raise money because their net asset value is less than the amount of Bitcoin they hold. And, for companies like, and this is where I get worried because if you look at, let's go to a different company. Right, here's MicroStrategy at $106 billion. That's almost 2-to-1. So, and that's more typical. And these are all over the place, but all of the rest of the companies that are creating a Bitcoin treasury as a main part of their business are trading on a multiple of their net asset value compared to the value of their Bitcoin. Semler is the only one that's trading less than its Bitcoin value. So the question is that an opportunity, or is this the canary in the coal mine? Is this a sign of things to come? Are these companies going to get out of fashion because people have so much more direct access to Bitcoin through the Bitcoin ETFs? A lot more people are adopting cryptocurrency. And as these companies like Amazon and Walmart start accepting payments in stable coins, it's going to cause a mass migration, in my opinion, of the number of people that are using cryptocurrency. So the amount of people, these types of companies thrive in parts of the world and markets that don't necessarily have easy direct access to Bitcoin. So you can buy one of these as a proxy to Bitcoin. And for whatever reason, Semler is not doing well. However, Tom Lee, who's the ultimate bull on everything and is certainly an incredibly bullish on Bitcoin, thinks that there's an opportunity here for this to have a big run up. So we'll see. That's what he thinks. So you'll see they're on my list.
How long do you think this war will go on, Tom?
I think until a deal is made, you're going to see this go. You're going to see this go on and on.
They just blew up the Iran blew up the Israel defense headquarters. I don't know what that means, but
yeah, well, there you go. It's escalating, and that's going to also be a problem because the United States had said don't retaliate, which is not necessarily a reasonable request, but
yeah,
that's what they've said.
I don't even know what's going on.
Well, the U.S. said they had nothing to do with these strikes. But if Iran retaliates, they may be forced to do something to defend Israel. So that is the new geopolitical thing, in addition to the two wars that are already going on at the time that are a bit of a drag on the market. There's no doubt. And, oil spiked. Everything that happened yesterday with Iran caused a spike in oil. The equities got hit. The Bitcoin got hit. The altcoins got hit. Everything got hit because of that. And I don't see that an end to that until
7%.
Until we reach an agreement. So, and it seems like everybody in the world is less and less amenable to agreeing on anything anymore. So, instead we're getting worse.
That gold went up and Bitcoin went down.
Yeah.
That's a weird one to me.
I think long term you're going to see, and of all people, JP Morgan, I have an article where they're saying Bitcoin's going to be a flight to safety. Bitcoin's going to be a risk-off asset. You're going to see Bitcoin's going to be a hedge against inflation and other things, and you're going to see money moving into Bitcoin. And we're seeing this list. I mean, this is an enormous amount of money that's going to flow into Bitcoin. And I'm sure there's many, right? This is not every company in the world. I did not do an all-exhausting, comprehensive search to create this list. There's more of them out there. And there's more to come because we get almost every single day, we get a new company saying, we're going to buy $500 million of Bitcoin. That wasn't even on the radar. And as for XRP, so let me go through. Singapore's Trident Digital. This was yesterday. So this is what I'm saying. This is not ancient news, and this money hasn't been spent yet. All this money is about to go into cryptocurrency. This is one company, Singapore's Trident Digital, which you can buy here in the U.S. I'll get to that stock ticker. Targets a mammoth $500 million raise to establish an XRP treasury. So this is a part of the three things that I think at this point are now absolute winners, one of which the consumer can't really make money off of. Stable coins they're through the Senate. They're going to the stable coin legislation is going to fly through the Congress. The US will have stable coin regulation. You can see we've got companies like Amazon and Walmart that want their own stable coin. And I'm going to show you next what happened to Circle, which is the second largest existing stable coin. So you've got this company looking to buy $500 million, not of Bitcoin, but of XRP. So the three things that I think have won at this point, and it just, the rest of it needs to play out, I think, are Bitcoin, stable coins, and XRP. So, you know, from an investment opportunity, the stable coins isn't necessarily where you're going to make your money, but the fact that they are succeeding is opening the floodgates to money coming into cryptocurrency, because that's the bridge. The stable coins are the bridge between fiat currency and the crypto universe. And there is now about to be mass adoption.
I will give you a real time how much money I make off of my stable coin. So that's not true. You do get a very healthy return on your stable coin, at least at Coinbase.
Oh, you're getting a return on your stable coin. I think
yes,
that,
I am.
I think that might go away, because I think in this new bill, they're not going to let them do that anymore.
I'm getting 5%.
I double check me on that, but I did read somewhere.
That sucks. Are you kidding me? Oh, no. So what they did is they have another coin off of the stable coin that is basically the stable coin, but they don't call it the stable coin.
So, yeah, it's a derivative of the stable coin.
Right. But right now,
so allows them to pay you.
Right. Yeah. You know. Oh, we can't pay it off stable coin? Well, we got 3 other coins related to the stable coin.
There's always a workaround. So the market cap of crypto, which one's going to come first? 10 trillion. And we're at about 3.5 trillion right now. So that's about a triple. Almost 70% of the people that have voted. So you're getting 4.5% interest.
Yeah.
Almost 70% of the people that voted feel like we're going to get to 10 trillion versus having a pullback, a bear market, or a crypto winter and dropping back down to 2 trillion. I believe, and these are always dangerous statements, and trying to predict the future is, you know, a foolish errand. I don't think we're ever going to see $2 trillion cryptocurrency ever again. I think the numbers we're hovering around right now, you know, could it pop under 3 trillion? If it does, it'll be just barely on the way up to much bigger numbers. And even when we get to 10 trillion, that's just going to be a stop along the way, if we're looking at this at a 10, 20, 30 year picture. So I don't think we're ever going to see 2 trillion again. That's my opinion. 70-30, 30% of you do think we will drop back down to 2 trillion at some point. End that poll. You guys could hit the thumbs up button or the like button. I would appreciate it. It gets people over to the stream, and hopefully my microphone is working better. This is the first time in history. We've been doing these streams for 4.5 years, and I've never had a problem with my microphone, but it sounds like today microphone is giving me a problem. So my apologies if I'm fading in and out. Okay, next poll. Bitcoin to 200,000 in 2025? Question mark. Yes or no? And I'm going to show you why I ask you this. So this is an article yesterday. Bitcoin at 200K by year end is now firmly in play, an analyst says after muted U.S. inflation data. The CPI missed estimates Wednesday. That's a confusing statement. It was better than expected, easing concerns of a tariff-led upswing in price pressure. Softer than expected U.S. inflation has likely set the stage for accelerated gains in Bitcoin, potentially to $200,000 by year end, according to a strategist at 21 shares. The consumer price index, the CPI, rose 0.1% last month, below economists' expectations. So we beat expectations, and it was 2.8% year over year, I think, and they were expecting it to be 2.9. So that also beat expectations. So there's been a panic that these tariffs were going to cause mass inflation. Well, this is the second month worth of data points that we've gotten where we have not seen any of that at all. In fact, we're beating expectations. Bitcoin's price was at 108,000 at the press time of this. Now, we all know there was global events last night that caused Bitcoin and the entire crypto market. Ethereum got beat up, but it had been on a really nice run. So, is it a buying opportunity if you feel like you missed the boat? So we still have people talking about Bitcoin 200,000 firmly in play, according to this analyst, and this is a person from 21 shares. What's your answer, George? Bitcoin 200,000 by the end of this year?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Plus, by the way.
You think it's going past that?
Yeah. I think we could do a God candle this year. There's a chance we could do a God candle. It's just, will they let it happen?
I'm getting more and more convinced. It's hard to say. The when of everything is very hard because, they intentionally make things happen later than you expect them or not when you expect them. But I'm more and more convinced 200 is in play. So I wouldn't go so far as to say I definitely believe it's going to be 200 by the end of the year, but I think that is definitely in play, and that is one of a few likely and reasonable outcomes this year.
Well, Tom, listen, I agree with that statement. I think it's very in play, but you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what war is going to start, what bomb's going to drop. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening any day that could change anything. So this is a fluid situation. It could change as soon as we get off the stream.
Well, and to your point, it did just change yesterday due to global geopolitical stuff. And, is that stuff going to get worse or is it going to get better? So there's no doubt. Global events of multiple different kinds could affect the outcome of this. But on the other side of that, I'm just going to run through some quick things here. And we looked at the list, but here's the articles. Trump media has 2.3 billion in Bitcoin buying power. So remember, this article's May 30th. That means they didn't buy Bitcoin yet. That's another 2.3 billion going into Bitcoin. You've got Bitcoin treasury firm 21 Capital brings total fundraise to 685 million. That's all going into Bitcoin. GameStop purchases over 500 million, but wait, if I got it, there's more because GameStop. So this was on May 28th. Well, I can't find it, but they're doing another billion plus, I think, on top of this $500 million. All right. Well, in any event, here's a $500 million purchase. There's another billion coming behind that. Strive closes a $750 million investment. I didn't even put them on the list, and they're looking to maybe increase that to $1.5 billion. I mean, there's just money pouring into Bitcoin. And if we go back to my chart, there's money pouring into Bitcoin. There's money pouring into XRP. And there's some other coins as well. One company's starting a $500 million treasury of Solana, right? So it's not just these two, but these are the main two. And I want to talk XRP for a second. First, I want to get to what Circle did, because I talked about how stablecoins winning, I think, is the single biggest thing that's going to bring the trillions and trillions of dollars into the crypto universe. And a couple of things happened this week, so let's just talk about them. This isn't the exact article I was looking for, but while we're at it, positive U.S. regulatory environment more conducive for crypto corporate activity. So this is JP Morgan, which, you know, the CEO of JP Morgan has equated Bitcoin to the pet rock. He's on record that he never even wants to discuss Bitcoin ever again. He thinks it's garbage. However, his firm has a different opinion. He's seeing and I'm going to see if it talks about it specifically, but yes. So expectations of a more benign regulatory environment in the U.S. is leading to an increase in the number of crypto companies looking to go public and an uplift in venture capital funding. Investment bank JP Morgan said in a research report Wednesday. So go public and venture capital. And I'm going to show you an example of that. So the Genius Act, which is basically the Stablecoin Act, a key factor in anticipating a clearer and more supportive regulatory environment. So this act that's just about done getting through Congress, the Senate and Congress. The Senate's guiding and establish. You'll see how far out of their way they went to spell genius. Guiding and establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act, or GENIUS, mandates federal regulation for stablecoin with the market cap of over $10 billion. So little stablecoins won't fall in this. Right now, there's really only two stable coins that are bigger than that. Tether's the biggest by far, and then Circle we saw was at $66 billion. But I just want to walk you through what happened with Circle, because to me, this is absolutely stunning. This article came out just 2 weeks ago. Circle eyes a $7.2 billion valuation in upsized U.S. IPO amid strong investor demand. So they were looking at a $27 to $28 a share price 2 weeks ago. They're at $132. Right, all you can do is pull up a 5-day on this because it's only 5 days old. So they went from $27. Now, us regular people did not get a chance at that because they opened, if we look at this,
It's got that.
opening, well, this does show it from $31, but in reality, the opening bid was like already at like $70 on the day they IPO'd. So they were looking for a $7 billion market cap. They're a $32 billion market cap right now. So this is the type of IPO fever. We haven't seen this in 4 years. IPOs, SPACs. Remember, there was there was a bubble. Everything was IPOing. Everything was kind of backdoor IPOing through a SPAC. They were all starting off with these astronomical numbers. And after that rush, after 2021 ended, that went to almost absolute zero. There's been almost nothing since then at all, and certainly nothing to this level of success. So, and where is it? It's in cryptocurrency. It's in stable coins. So to me, this is a monumental success story, and it's a sign of things to come.
I'm ready to do a sidebar because I just got pissed. I just read something.
Uh-oh. You want to talk about it?
Well, yeah, I deal with $1 billion company. I won't say the name of it because they send me a lot of work, right? And like basically what they do is they take my work, mark it up, and then, make their money. Whatever. I don't care about that. That's fine. But they implemented this new thing where they take a 5% reserve off of the money they pay you. It's like, why can't you just put the 5% on the other side? So I don't ever have to see it. It goes to their mindset. Their mindset is it's their effing money and you can't have it. Sorry. And that's how you have to think about stocks. That's how you have to think about cryptos. They want to do everything they can so you don't get a freaking penny.
And that's exactly why this journey is so difficult. And
yeah.
Those of you who have been here all the while, and there are a bunch of you, particularly
and
our
people
members.
don't understand, and they don't understand that. They do not understand that this is nothing more than a game to them, and they want to see how much you will take, meaning the abuse.
Want to see how much of our money they can take, and they're
Yep.
laughing at us.
Dude, it pisses me off. So the best way to beat them is to join them. So that's what I plan on doing.
That's the old saying. Robert Anderson, thanks for being a member, is saying, so if all of these companies starting to hodl are getting benefits from it, doesn't it stand to reason the miners hodling will also get a boost? So that is a statement that I 100% agree with, and that is why my biggest positions are in the 3 companies that are hodling the most. And I did say on January 1st of 2025 that I thought 2025 would be the year where the companies that hodl outperform the Bitcoin mining companies that don't hodl. It was the opposite last year. AI was brand new and shiny, and everybody was throwing money at it. Not for contracts, for just press releases. Hey, we're going to go into data centers and AI. Oh, boom, our stock goes up 50%. That's not happening this year. There is something else happening this year. For those companies that get actual contracts, there's potential for huge moves in those stocks. But unless and until the Bitcoin mining companies that have shifted gears over to high performance computing, until they get contracts, I think they will underperform. And if we look at what's happening this year, let me go to the chart. If I go to year to date, so this is the month of May. So you can see, even with the bad week we just had, even with the bad, sorry, that's May. This is the month of June. And then I'm going to go year to date so I get back on track to what I was talking about. So even with this bad week we just had and this bad day we just had today, Bitcoin's at 0 in the month of June. And most of the Bitcoin miners are absolutely crushing Bitcoin this month. So it's still, despite the fact today was a bad day and this week was not a great week, we continue, in my opinion, to trend in the right direction. The one exception to that being Bitfarms. We'll talk a little bit about Bitfarms, but I have talked Bitfarms to death, so I don't want to overkill. But let's take a look at year to date. Because if we look at year to date, so Riot earlier this week was in the green year to date. And of course, you know, they had a bad Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They're back in the red. Bitcoin's up 13% year to date. CleanSpark's up 1%. That's the best performing Bitcoin miner. Well, that's one of the 3 Bitcoin miners that has a significant HODL strategy. Iron is, I'm calling it green. It's up 0%. They do not HODL. They sell 100% of their Bitcoin. However, they're the only company, they have the lowest cost per coin, and they make money, they make GAAP income. In the first quarter, back when Bitcoin was on average maybe $20,000 less than it is right now. So wait until you see their second quarter results. So I understand, and that's why this is one of my CleanSpark, Iron, Riot, and Marathon are my 4 largest positions. Now, Bitfarms would have been in that group. It's just performed so poorly. It's now fallen out of the top 4. So that's my 5th largest position, and it's doing the worst out of all of these companies. But there's, as many of you know, I won't go through it, a painstaking list of reasons why Bitfarms is underperforming the way it is. But if you look, so then you got CleanSpark, and then you got Riot, which has around 19,000 Bitcoin. They're down 5%. And then Marathon, which has, they're coming up on 50,000 Bitcoin. And they're down 10% on the year. So I really still think some of the best bets are these companies. I think CleanSpark, Riot, and Marathon will outperform Bitcoin in 2025. That's not financial advice. That's my opinion. I think those are the 3 that stand the best chance. I do think Iron will continue to do well because they not only have branched out into high performance computing / AI data centers. They're one of the 3 largest Bitcoin miners. They said by June they're going to be at 50 exahash, and we're in June. And they have the one of the lowest, if not the lowest, cost per coin. So they're a highly profitable company. They're diversifying their revenue streams. So I don't think it's a coincidence that these 4 are near the top of this list. That doesn't mean there aren't opportunities over here. Some of these other ones may do very well, you know, in addition to that. And I'm looking at a company like TeraWulf that's down 29%. If TeraWulf tomorrow gets an $8 billion or $10 billion high performance computing contract, boom, they're going to do what Applied Digital did. And Applied Digital, I'm saving this and using it as the prototype because this is for the rest of the Bitcoin miners that have stopped reporting their monthly operations and they've pivoted to AI. This is what they need. And they're not going anywhere until they get it. So this came out on June 2nd. Applied Digital announces a 250 megawatt AI data center lease with CoreWeave in North Dakota. So you'll see down here, this is $7 billion of revenue. Now, to be fair, that's over 15 years. So we'll see how that all plays out. But this is a significant statement that this business model they're moving into is no longer just infrastructure they've built and theoretical. They now have a $7 billion contract. Now, Core Scientific has a contract even much bigger than that, also with CoreWeave. So they seem to be the only ones tapping these resources. Everybody else has an insignificant amount of revenue. So there's your opportunity. If you think, go back to this chart, if you think, for instance, TeraWulf is looking for contracts, Hive has high performance computing, Bitfarms has pivoted into doing a lot of or creating a lot of high performance computing infrastructure. Core Scientific, basically, that's what they do. Hut is an energy company. So, any of those companies, if they go get business, this is ultra high gross profit business. And I think that's what it will take for those companies to move. Unlike CleanSpark, and I'm going to include Iron because they're so profitable, but CleanSpark, Riot, and Marathon are the ones that have a significant hodl position, and by and large, they continue to add to that hodl position. Now, Riot has had a couple of months where they sold all their Bitcoin, but for the most part, they have added to their hodl position every month for years. So, and they have the second largest hodl position out of all the Bitcoin miners. Now, Hut, we don't know because they don't report anymore. They used to have 10,000 Bitcoin. And really, they've been holding on to that for 5 or 6 or 7 years and not selling it. So they stopped putting out a monthly operational report. So we're going to have to wait for the quarterly reports to see if they're still holding on to that Bitcoin. We don't know. Have they sold it all? Do they have it? So it's an unknown. So they're not going to trade on it until we see, that they've held on to it. I suspect they have, but I'm just guessing. But with these others, we're getting monthly operational updates. Bitcoin to 200,000 in 2025. We've gotten a lot of votes here, and it's 58% no, 42% say yes. So that's pretty good because 200's past where I thought we were going to get a year and a half ago. That's past where I thought we were going to get at the top of this bull market. Now, are we all falling into the FOMO trap? I don't know, but you're seeing it's not just FOMO. We're looking at article after article of adoption of stable coins, of publicly traded companies raising money to buy Bitcoin, and not a little bit, 500 million, a billion, 2 billion, multiple billions of dollars that they're going to put into treasury. And again, when they put those into treasury, those come out of the supply. Not to mention, the United States officially has a Bitcoin strategic reserve. Now, there's no Bitcoin in it to my knowledge yet, but at some point, if that starts to get filled up and other nations around the world follow, you can see where I'm going with this. There's no end to the future adoption of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency that I see in sight. And as for XRP, just to sidetrack a little, they did file another motion. Ripple and the SEC file a joint motion to release this $125 million. So at one point, Ripple was fined $2 billion by the SEC. They dropped that to $125 million, and Ripple said, no, we're not even going to pay you the $125 million. We want some of our money back. So here's what's going to happen. Under the proposal, $50 million is going to go to the SEC in lieu of the $2 billion that Gary Gensler wanted, and $75 million is going to be returned to Ripple. So I think this should have already happened. It didn't happen on a technicality, so I think this will now happen, ending the longest outstanding and most high-profile, biggest SEC versus the cryptocurrency universe case in existence. So that is done. It's gone. It's behind us. We have a new head of the SEC that's much more crypto-friendly. We see Congress passing bills. So everything just seems to be trending to where I still feel like there's more road ahead of us than behind us.
And why do you think they charged them any money?
The $50 million?
Yeah.
I think Ripple as a nuisance agreed to just pay the $50 million. When you're looking at $2 billion fine, if you can walk away for $50 million, it's, that I understand that to me and you and everybody watching, that's a lot of money, but to them, it's a nuisance. At that point, it's a nuisance.
There is a lawsuit out there that it is holders of XRP versus the United States government.
Yeah, I think there's a valid case to be made.
And the numbers that I'm hearing, and everybody, when you start talking about this stuff, people just think you're a lunatic. But the numbers I'm hearing are astronomical.
Well, essentially, the U.S. outlawed XRP.
Yep.
And, at the end of the day, they basically dropped all of it and said, no, nothing. This was all nothing. So there's definitely, there's an argument out there for sure.
They're gonna leave in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Robert Anderson saying Mara's getting hurt because their mining operations aren't great, but they produce a lot. So they do have a higher cost per coin. And that leads me to one more article that I definitely want to go through. And this is another one of those things where I think it's a game changer. It's game over. The Bitcoin miners, in my opinion, are going to do very well the rest of the year. And this is one article that I have. Okay, of all people, JP Morgan. Now, to be fair, they report every month what's the Bitcoin mining economics and this and that. And they talk a lot about Bitcoin. Obviously, their CEO, as I mentioned earlier, despises Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. This is a report from JP Morgan. Bitcoin miners just had one of their best quarters on record. They're not talking about the quarter we're in right now, where Bitcoin's up, between $105,000 and $112,000. No, they're talking about the first 3 months of 2025, when Bitcoin, at one point got down to $74,000 and was trading more in the mid 80s. So we're a solid $20,000 a coin better in the quarter we're about to report than the quarter they're talking about. And they're saying that quarter was one of the best ones in history for the Bitcoin miners. So I can assure you this quarter, particularly for the companies I just talked about that are hodling, their results are going to be significantly better in the second quarter than they were in the first calendar quarter of this year. So if they think the first quarter was good, wait until you see the second quarter. Mara Holdings mines the most Bitcoin for the 9th consecutive quarter. Iron earned the most gross profit for the first time. So Iron has scaled up so much now, and their cost per coin is low, and it talks a little bit. So I'll just hit a couple of highlights that it does talk about to go to Robert Anderson's point. In aggregate, the miners earned gross profit of about $2 billion with margins at 53%. Those figures compare to 1.7 billion and 50% in the previous quarter, and this quarter is going to blow those numbers away. Marathon mined the most Bitcoin. Iron earned the most gross profit. Its lowest all-in cost per coin at just $36,000. So Bitcoin even now today is around $105,000. Their all-in cash cost, Iron's all-in cash cost is $36,000. So you can see they're minting money, and that's why they're one of the best performers of the year. But even Marathon, which has the highest cost per coin, it's still only $72,000. So, there's $30,000 or $40,000 per coin of gross profit for them, and they mined almost 1,000 coins last month. So that's a significant amount of gross profit. I understand it's costing them twice as much money to mine a coin as it is Iron, but Bitcoin's price is so high that still leaves a lot of money left over for gross profit. The 5 mining companies the bank tracks issued only $310 million of equity in the quarter, a drop of $1 billion from the fourth quarter of last year. So remember, I said 2024 was the year of stock dilution, and everybody was crazy angry about the stock dilution. And we said at the beginning of this year, you're not going to see that this year. That pain, that was a pain they had to endure. They've endured it, and you're going to see there's several companies that have issued zero stock this year. Cleanspark specifically said they've issued no new shares of stock since November of 2024 in an effort to raise money. So all of that is to say that the economics for the Bitcoin miners is getting better and better and better. And so that's why I think there's good things ahead for the Bitcoin miners. That's all predicated on the fact that Bitcoin continues its bull market. Obviously, there will be volatility. We're going to get ups and downs. That's just how this goes. We talk about that at great length. This is the very definition of volatility. So if you can't handle volatility, this is not the place for you. Going to mention the DXY because yesterday and then again today, this is the strength of the US dollar. And you're going to see these 2 days right here, yesterday and today, that is a 3-year low. You got to go back to March of 2022 is the last time the strength of the US dollar was this low. Now, historically, there's been an inverse correlation. So the lower the strength of the US dollar, the higher Bitcoin goes. There have been exceptions to that. We've had times where that correlation broke, but in general, over the long term, that's a pretty strong correlation. So this bodes well for Bitcoin if this continues to go down. And like I said, yesterday and today, both of those days hit a 3-year low for strength of the US dollar. And this Bitcoin to 200K in 2025. So wasn't quite 50-50, 57% to 43%, 58% say no, it's not going to get to 200. But that I think that's pretty bullish results. I think that means people are very optimistic on Bitcoin for the rest of this year. Somebody in here saying they think we've already pretty much hit the top. So I know there's some people that think that. And, only time is going to tell if that's true or not. This is Circle. So this was USDC going public. So you can see even on their chart at 9:30 Tuesday, which was the day this opened, their $27 IPO, the first sale was at $64. So, you missed that part of the run. But the thing is, if you bought it then, you still doubled in, 4 days. It's up another 100% from there. And the people who were in pre-IPO, they've 4, 5, 6, 7x their money already on this thing. So we'll see. We should keep our eye on this and see where it goes because stablecoins, I think, are a crucial thing for us to be looking at. The success of stablecoins is the success of cryptocurrency. This is probably a familiar name to a lot of you. Anthony Pompliano, Pomp, set to head a $750 million Bitcoin investment vehicle. Reported by the Financial Times. Anthony Pompliano is set to become CEO of ProCap BTC, which plans to raise $750 million to acquire Bitcoin, according to the Financial Times. So this is one I didn't even have on the list that we were just showing you. So here's another $750 million. The proposed deal includes $500 million in equity and $250 million in convertible debt in a merger with a SPAC. So this is going public via SPAC. So here we see Circle doing a good old-fashioned IPO and hitting it a grand slam home run, knocking it out of the park. Now we see Pomp here doing a SPAC. We also had Hut and Griffin get their Bitcoin mining operations together and to be able to take that public via a SPAC. That hasn't happened yet, but when it does, so there may be one more Bitcoin miner that we will add to our list. Hut has stopped reporting their Bitcoin minings, and that's because they moved all of their Bitcoin into the subsidiary that they're an 80% owner in, but that subsidiary is going to merge with Griffin, and it will then be a publicly traded company. And I think, I would guess they will start issuing monthly operational reports once all that happens, but that could take months and months and months. So for the meantime, we're in the dark on Hut. This is another $750 million that wasn't even on my list. So these are coming out. This was today, right? I mean, it's not on my list because this came out today. What do you think, George?
I don't know how somebody gets a job for managing $750 million of Bitcoin.
Because it doesn't require any.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have. Yeah, because it seems to me that they're going to be buying and selling.
We should go back and look, because my impression was that was going to be treasury and they were just going to continue to raise money. Yeah, Bitcoin treasury strategy. So this is a buy and hold. Bitcoin treasury strategy pioneered by Michael Saylor.
Where do I apply for that position?
I don't know, but put my application on it.
Yeah,
right underneath.
everybody's working Monday. We got off the rest of the week.
Don't know what he's getting paid for this, but the point is, this is another example. I mean, there's just endless, every single stream we have, there's endless examples of adoption. And the last thing I'll leave you with is there's still a big financial advisors remain hesitant towards Bitcoin. And then their conclusion is, but they won't be for long. So financial advisors still, and that's where most of the wealth is. Like, for instance, Vanguard and their $10 trillion, they won't even let their customers buy the Bitcoin ETFs. So there's trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars between, places like that, between all the other financial advisors to high net worth people, between all the pension funds, retirement funds. I mean, we haven't even begun to see those things move into Bitcoin. So, at some point you will see this shift from financial advisors being afraid to advise this. And I think I have another article.
I have another one, Tom.
What do you got?
I got one. I'm going to start saying, we will know that Bitcoin is going to go parabolic as soon as Vanguard says we're going to open up a crypto for our people.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're a gigantic holdout. And it makes no sense. I could just tell you right now, I would be furious and insulted, even if I didn't want to buy Bitcoin. If I had my money there and I'm a high net worth person and they're telling me I can't do what I want to do with my money, I know what my answer would be. Goodbye.
And think of what they've missed too.
Right. Whereas the BlackRock, which goes hand in hand, those are the two largest money managers in the world by a mile. BlackRock's all in, and they have the most successful ETF in the history of all ETFs ever created. And by the way, it's not even close. The BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, we'll go take a look at that. They have now almost $50 billion of inflow. Now, the price of Bitcoin's gone up a lot, so their actual Bitcoin holdings are probably 60 or 70 or $75 billion. But this is the most successful, and this is only just a little over a year old, right? It has taken, for the next closest ETF of any kind, it's taken like 4 or 5 years for them to get to this point. So even if the BlackRock ETF didn't exist, the Fidelity ETF at $11 billion of inflow would have been the most successful ETF in the history of all ETFs, except for the fact that BlackRock's 5 times bigger than it. So while Vanguard sits on their hands and says no. Those stances can't last forever. And we're seeing things. We're seeing other, when Amazon takes matters into their own hands, or Walmart and says, hey, we're just going to accept stablecoin payments. I mean, that's a seismic move. And to me, of everything we've talked about over the years, those types of moves are the biggest things of all. The ETFs obviously were, and we voted on this when they came out and did polling for about a month, and everybody pretty much agreed that was the biggest thing to ever happen to Bitcoin, was the opening of the ETFs. They've been wildly successful. Bitcoin's gone way up since they opened. But if you see the entrance of the 2 largest retailers in the world into the cryptocurrency universe, if they're the leaders, everybody else will follow. And we already have Shopify already following. So those are my thoughts. I think it's a good thing ahead. I think that we just continue to see adoption. I know we ran back a little bit today, but if we look a month to date for June, right? While Bitcoin has been flat for the month of June, other than Bitfarms, all these Bitcoin miners are dramatically outperforming Bitcoin in the month of June. And that's the trend we need to see continue, because they have a lot of catching up to do. Never mind passing Bitcoin. They got a long way to go before they catch Bitcoin. So I think there's more of this to come. I know this week was not the best week, and mostly it was because of geopolitical, just like George says. This is all very fluid because we got geopolitical stuff that ends up being a whammy at, any given point in time that who knows. So, but I think if you're patient and you weather through that stuff, I'm still very bullish. Not financial advice, but that is my personal opinion.
But Tom, I got to kind of sneak out of here.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. Any last words?
No, nothing. Just don't give up.
Don't give up. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Special thanks to the members. And everybody have a fantastic weekend. To the members, we will see you on the Tuesday members only live stream. Have a great weekend.